Pokemon Red, but every move is an Ice-type move. Growl is now Ice-type, Thunderbolt is now Ice-type, and Rock Slide is now, you guessed it, Ice-type. I wanted a bit of a challenge apart from doing the whole every Pokemon is a single type kind of runs, so I came up with this. And oh boy, did I underestimate it. I'm choosing Squirtle as my starter and naming it Bubbles. I was debating between Bulbasaur and Squirtle for my starter. Bulbasaur can learn Leech Seed and the Powder moves that could give it an edge offensively, but defensively it's no contest. Bulbasaur is weak to everything in the game, but Squirtle resists everything in the game, making it a clear choice for me. And that advantage is evident right off the bat against the rival, earning us an easy victory in Oak's lab. Flying through the early game and Viridian Forest, we came to Pewter City and faced the junior trainer in Brock's gym. Diglett goes down in 2 hits thanks to a critical, Bubbles levels up to level 13, and Sandshrew also goes down in 2 hits, probably thanks to a critical. You may be wondering why I'm using Tackle against the high defense, low special Sandshrew. Tackle is a physical move in the base game, but it's only because of its normal typing. Gen 1 was made before the physical special split of Gen 4, so move types like Fire, Ice, and Electric will always use the special stat when calculating damage, and move types like Normal, Poison, and Rock will always use the attack and defense stats when calculating damage. So that's why I'm using Tackle here. It's a special move now, just like Bubble, but it does a bit more damage. And now it's time to face Brock. Geodude is a 2-hit, probably thanks to a critical again, and I actually get a miss in there, but Geodude couldn't really do anything even if it had wanted to. We get a level up before Onix, and I want you to watch this interaction. It's almost like the roles are reversed from normal. Onix is taking big damage from Tackle, while Bubbles is taking little chip damage. Anyways, Onix goes down in an easy 3-hit, Bubbles leveled up and learned Water Gun, and we're through the first gym with no issue. I won't give anything away, but that was the easiest major battle of the run. Moving on from Pewter City, I really, for real this time, considered getting the Magikarp for an early Gyarados. Since I already have a water type in Bubbles though, I decided against it. Maybe one day I'll pick up the poor Magikarp, but not this run. Going through Mount Moon, I decided to catch a Clefairy after seeing how well it held up against Bubbles' attacks and named it Snowball. I decided to test Snowball's metal in battle, and it did okay against this Raticate until getting hit with a critical Hyper Fang, but it's already on track to have a higher special stat than Bubbles, so I think Snowball will be well worth the effort to train up. Arriving in the scenic Cerulean City, I do a bit of shopping and decide to test our team against the swimmer in Misty's gym. And oh boy, this is going to be awful. After 13 turns, his first Pokemon, a Horsey, goes down. His Shelter has less special, thank goodness, and we get the win after spamming a bit longer. And I realize I'm going to need something a little more than just offensive power to get past these bulky water types in this run. Unfortunately, I did not catch a Weedle or Caterpie early on, which could have helped with poisoning or status conditions, but we do have an option to the west of Cerulean in Ekans. Now the Ekans line doesn't have the best special, but we don't necessarily need that for the role Ekans will be playing. So I catch an Ekans, misspell its name, and since I can't live with that, I run into a higher level Ekans, we catch a new one, and I name it Ice Wraith, just like in Skyrim. With my newly caught Ice Wraith at the front of my party, we take on the Cerulean rival. He leads off with Pidgeotto, and I immediately swap into Bubbles to help train Ice Wraith up a bit. Bubbles takes Pidgeotto down, no problem, and rival sends out Abra. I counter with Ice Wraith to try out his strategy. I get a Poison off on Abra and then go into a Wrap. With each hit of Wrap, Poison eats away at Abra's health, giving us a good damage over time effect. Abra goes down easily and rival sends out Rattata. I think about trying the Poison Wrap strat on Rattata, but don't get the poison off right away and take a bit too much damage, so I swap into Snowball and help clean up. Rattata goes down in a few hits, and Bulbasaur is a little bit tankier, but eventually goes down, getting us the relatively easy win against Cerulean rival. Up north at the Cape, we do a little leveling. Ice Wraith gets to level 17 and learns Bite, its highest damaging naturally learned move, and Snowball levels up to level 18 and learns Double Slap, which isn't near as useful as Bite, but I mean, it's something, I guess. We talk to Bill, he gives us a free cruise ticket, and we come back down and test out the team in Misty's gym by facing the junior trainer. I send out Ice Wraith against her Goldeen and attempt to get a poison off, but after 5 poison stings and no poison proc, Ice Wraith goes down. I send Snowball out to try and whittle the Goldeen down, but it's just not doing enough damage and taking too much damage, so I send out Bubbles to try and save it. And after spamming A for a very long time, Goldeen finally goes down. So I think it's pretty obvious we are not quite ready for Misty yet, so let's move on to Vermilion. We board the SS Anne, and if you're used to type matchups from Gen 2 onward, this might seem a bit strange. One thing that helps us out a little bit in this run is fire types don't resist ice type attacks in Generation 1. So that helps some of these battles not take 30 something turns. We fight a whole bunch of trainers on the boat and level up a bit, and now it's time to beat up Rival yet again. He sends out Pidgeotto and I send out Snowball. Pidgeotto is a 3-hit and takes just under a third of Snowball's health total. Raticate misses a Hyper Fang, which is good, and ends up being a 4-hit. Not sure if Snowball would have survived had that Hyper Fang hit, but we move on. Kadabra comes out but confuses Snowball and takes it down to low health, so I swap into Bubbles to tank some hits. Kadabra spams a whole lot of disables and lands a couple confusions, but inevitably goes down to me spamming A. And finally, Ivysaur is an easy 4-hit, doing very little damage to Bubbles, and we beat SS and Rival. I can see now where we might end up facing some challenges with this team later on, but that's for later in the run. We talked to the seasick captain that should probably look for a new career and leave the ship right before it sets sail on its luxurious cruise, just missing it yet again. We head north of Vermilion where I catch an Oddish and name it Spruce. I level Spruce up to learn Poison Powder as a bit of a backup for Ice Wraith's Poison proc. I also learned that Cut is actually not that terrible of a move when its type is changed. Anyways, there's nowhere else to go, so after leveling up a bit more on some trainers between Vermilion and Cerulean, it's finally time to take on Misty. I send out Spruce first against her Staryu, going for a poison right off the bat. Staryu does about a 4th to Spruce, and we get the poison. I swap into Snowball because I need Spruce alive to throw a Poison Powder on Starmie, and Snowball takes Staryu's hits like a champ, outliving it as it succumbs to the poison. Scary Starmie comes out and I swap into Spruce, hoping for an X-Defend, but it goes for Tackle instead, doing some good damage. Next turn, X-Defend? No, it goes for Water Gun, taking out Spruce. But we still have Ice Wraith to poison, so I send him out. And on the second Poison Sting, Poison actually procs. We just have to hold on for the rest of the fight now. Misty uses an X-Defend, which is a literal waste of a move, and I go for Wrap, attempting to stall it out just a bit, but only after a few hits Starmie breaks out and lands a critical Water Gun, taking out Ice Wraith. But I think we're good. Snowball and Bubbles are pretty bulky. Well, I say that and Snowball goes down in 2 hits. It's all up to Bubbles with really nothing else to do in terms of strategy. It's now just a spam A and pray situation. Starmie gets Bubbles all the way down to 4 HP, but Bubbles lands the final blow on Misty's ace, earning us the win. And with that, we get a nice upgrade for Bubbles in the move Bubble Beam, which I don't teach yet because I forget about it. Moving on to Rock Tunnel, we encounter the second hardest trainer of the run so far, these Pokemaniacs with their Slowpoke. But we manage to out-chip damage it, and Ice Wraith evolves after the fight, netting us a nice upgrade. Nothing else really happens in Rock Tunnel of note, and upon leaving, I beeline over to Celadon. I figure instead of fighting Rival in Pokemon Tower, then going to Celadon to pick up the Pokédoll, and then coming all the way back to Pokemon Tower to finish it, we just do it all in one go. It also lets me train up a bit more before facing Rival and his scary Gyarados. And in doing so, Bubble learns Bite. I still haven't taught Bubble Dean to Bubble, so this is the strongest attack it has so far, and it's a nice little upgrade for it. Coming back to Lavender Town to take on Rival, Snowball is level 23, Ice Wraith is level 24, and Bubbles is level 25. Alright, let's do this. Rival sends out Pidgeotto and I send out Snowball. Pidgeotto goes for turn 1, Inconsequential Whirlwind, and Snowball's Pound is doing a good chunk of damage. The next turn, Pidgeotto gets a Sand Attack off, but then doesn't do much for the rest of the interaction and goes down. And upon taking Pidgeotto out, Snowball levels up and learns Minimize, and I'm absolutely teaching that over Growl. Gyarados is next, and at turn 1 hits with Dragon Rage, taking Snowball down to KO range, and Snowball misses Sing, pretty much sealing the deal here. And sure enough, on the next round, Gyarados knocks Snowball out with a Dragon Rage. I send out Ice Wraith to maybe get a lucky poison off, but we don't, and Gyarados hits with another Dragon Rage, taking Ice Wraith down to KO range. We start going for Wrap to keep the Gyarados from doing anything else and get some chip damage in, but Ice Wraith misses the second Wrap, and Gyarados takes it down with a Hydro Pump. This isn't looking too good. I send out Bubbles and hope we get some crazy luck and Gyarados just won't go for Dragon Rage, but of course it hits with 2 Dragon Rages in a row, taking Bubbles down. It's all up to Spruce. Oh well. I long for the day when Gyarados isn't a problem. Stepping back from that loss, I start considering a few things. I need Ice Wraith to have over 80 health, so it can survive being hit with 2 Dragon Rages. That gives it another shot at poisoning the Gyarados, and maybe that's all the luck we need? I don't know, maybe. The rest of the team needs to have over 80 health too, though, because getting knocked out in 2 hits is not the greatest when all of your attacks are just doing chip damage. So I put the rival fight on hold for a bit and go fight someone that should be quite a bit easier, Lieutenant Surge. But before we fight Lieutenant Surge, I showed this little diagram in my full playthroughs, but I don't think I've ever shown it in these cutdowns. This diagram is on the Dozuki Speedrun Guide site, and credit for the diagram upload goes to Soulflare. I know a lot of people use GameHook or other mods to bypass the puzzle in Surge's gym, but if you don't want to use those or can't, the trash cans follow a specific pattern, and this little diagram can save a whole lot of frustration. The red cans are the only cans the first switch can be found at, and the arrows point to the can that the second switch is in. But sometimes the second switch is in the top left trash can, like what you see in the game right now, so always save before going to the second switch. Also, thank you so much for watching. Okay, enough chit chat, it's time for Surge. He of course sends out Voltorb and I send out Ice Wraith. Ice Wraith's bite is doing some pretty good damage against Voltorb, which uses an X speed. That X speed allows it to move first the next turn, hitting with a Sonic Boom, which hurts a little bit, but Ice Wraith counters with a critical bite, taking out the Voltorb. Pikachu is an easy 2-hit, doing insignificant damage with Thundershock, and now it's Raichu time. It goes for a little Thundershock, which paralyzes Ice Wraith, but Ice Wraith's Poison Sting actually poisons on the first hit. Let's go! With that, I swap into Snowball to use Minimize because I have no shame. And after 2, Snowball starts pounding away the Raichu, which actually manages to hit a couple of Thundershocks, but since Snowball's special is halfway decent, they don't do too much, and we're able to defeat Lieutenant Surge. With that, we earn the Thunder Badge and get the TM for Thunderbolt, which I immediately teach to Snowball to greatly upgrade its poor neglected moveset. After beating Surge, let's continue the gym run and head towards Celadon. In Celadon Gym, we try out Snowball's new move, and it is doing some major damage against these Pokemon, so that was definitely worth learning. What definitely wasn't worth learning, or rather not worth learning over Bite, was Glare. Yeah, I got a bit too spam happy, and Ice Wraith just learned right over Bite. The most powerful move that it can learn in this run. So yeah, that's a bit of a disappointment. Now I have to wonder if Ice Wraith is even worth keeping around. But anyways, after beating all our trainers, it's now time to take on Erica. She sends out Victory Bell and I send out Bubbles. And it doesn't go well. Victory Bell's Razor Leaf outdamages Bubbles' Bite, and then on turn 2 it hits with a Sleep Powder. It takes Bubbles down to super low health before Bubbles wakes up, hits a Bite, and Victory Bell hits another Sleep Powder. Then wraps Bubbles to knock it out. Maybe Ice Wraith can help? I go for Glare, which hits, and Victory Bell is fully paralyzed. Nice. And now we wrap. And it goes down, and Erica sends out Tangela, which we tried the same strategy on, but missed the first Glare, takes some bind damage. We get the second Glare, takes some more bind damage, was really hoping for a fully paralyzed, and then miss wrap. But Tangela misses bind, so we're good, and we hit the next wrap, easily taking out Tangela. And now for Erica's Ace Vileplume. Glare hits first turn, but Vileplume hits through it with Sleep Powder. And Ice Wraith stays asleep through 5 turns, only one of which Vileplume is fully paralyzed. What kind of luck is this? And Ice Wraith goes down. I send Snowball to clean things up with its Thunderbolt. Vileplume lands a Petal Dance that does about a quarter. Snowball hits with another Thunderbolt, but Vileplume is fully paralyzed, and we win against Erica, earning the Rainbow Badge. We also win the TM for Mega Drain from that fight, but I don't know if we'll use it. I could teach it to Ice Wraith just to give it something stronger than Wrap, but I think I'm going to hold on to it for now. Alright, with Erica beaten, it's time now to go back and face our rival at Pokemon Tower. He sends out Pidgeotto and I send out Snowball. The play here is to knock out the Pidgeotto, sing the Gyarados, and swap into Ice Wraith. Let's see how it works out. Pidgeotto goes down in just 2 hits, and let's see if Gyarados plays nice. It does. All right, swapping into Ice Wraith, and we outspeed, but miss the first wrap. Please stay asleep. Please stay asleep. And we get the second wrap. Okay, time to spam A. Gyarados wakes up, but it's fine. That was just so we could swap. Ice Wraith misses a wrap, and Gyarados hits with a Hydro Pump, and then Ice Wraith misses again, and Gyarados crits with a Bite. Please hit the next wrap. Yes! Ice Wraith hits the next 2 wraps, taking out Gyarados. And that was pretty much the fight. Growlithe goes down in some wrap from Ice Wraith and a Bite from Bubbles. Kadabra chooses to hit Bubbles once with Confusion and then do nothing else. And Ivysaur does pretty much the same thing, and Bubbles takes it out, getting us the win over Pokemon Tower rival. What a ride. After the fight, I finally realized I have Bubble Beam and teach it to Bubbles, giving it a little bit of an upgrade. We then take on Pokemon Tower, and this could have gone a lot worse than it did. Ghastly and Haunter have some really good special stats, access to Nightshade, and they can confuse, but we actually got kind of lucky in some of the fights. Didn't see Nightshade near as much as I expected, and even hit through some of the confusions. So we managed to clear Pokemon Tower with relative little issue, rescuing Mr. Fuji and earning the Pokeflute. Heading on to Silph, I start the process of clearing all the Team Rocket fights for that sweet XP. And as I'm fighting this Hypno, I come to the realization that Alakazam, Gengar, Haunter, anything that has high special is going to be awful in the late game. And I need something that can do damage outside of that. I could get Gyarados, but Dragon Rage doesn't scale as you level. But you know what does scale as you level? Literally. That's right, Nightshade on a 1-to-1 basis. The only Pokemon that can learn Nightshade in Gen 1 is the Ghastly line, and the only way to catch one is to grab the Silph Scope from the Celadon Team Rocket hideout. So we're going back and fighting Team Rocket in Celadon, something I've never done in any of these runs, and honestly it takes me a bit to remember how to navigate through the hideout. But I do it, and we find Giovanni, even though he should be in Silph right now. I wonder if Giovanni is cloned. Like Mewtwo. Who knows? Let's fight one of the Giovanni. He sends out Onix and I send out Snowball. Onix goes for Rage, but Snowball is too powerful and OHKOs it with Thunderbolt. Giovanni sends out Rhyhorn, Snowball outspeeds, and it's another easy OHKO. Last up is Kangaskhan, it also goes for Rage, Snowball's Thunderbolt crit, and it did major damage. Kangaskhan's Rage does nothing, and Snowball hit one last Thunderbolt, taking down Giovanni. And we get the Silph Scope, so let's go catch a Ghastly. Or a Haunter works too! I catch this Haunter and name it Frostlass, fun fact, one of my favorite Pokemon. Before we get too far in the run, remember in my runs I evolve trait evolutions on level up. I figure if Rival can evolve his Kadabra, I should be able to. Any Pokemon I have that is a trait evolution will instead evolve at level 40. So when we face Agatha and any other late game trainers I anticipate having a problem against, we will have a Gengar of our own. To start training up Frostlass, I choose to fight the Fisherman to the south of Lavender. I figure I'm definitely not going to be training anything else against these guys since they resist everything except for set or direct damage moves. Dragon Rage, Sonic Boom, Nightshade, Bide, Psywave, Seismic Toss, Super Fang, and Counter, which Counter isn't even usable in this run. So training Frostlass against these Fishermen is perfect. Now, going back to those moves I mentioned, I've already talked about Dragon Rage and Nightshade a little bit. Sonic Boom only does 20 HP of damage per hit, so not really viable in the late game. Bite is okay if you know two things, that you will get hit for sure, which isn't always a guarantee in Gen 1, and that you'll survive the hits, so for that reason I don't really like using it. Psywave deals a random amount of HP damage between 1 HP and 1.5 times the user's level in HP, so more often than not it'll be doing less than the level, which is less than Nightshade, so that's not too great. I can't teach anything Seismic Toss because it's not a gym TM, and the only things that learn it naturally aren't really that great in the special department and learn the move kinda late anyways. Super Fang is good, but again comes a little too late for use, and Counter, like I said, can't even be used in this run. It's similar to a one-turn Bide of sorts, but is only procced if the type of move that hit the user is normal or fighting. Now, trivia time. All of these direct damage moves have something in common, and it may seem pretty obvious in the name. These moves bypass the typing matchups when dealing damage, meaning they bypass weaknesses, resistance, and immunities. The important one, dealing direct damage. So this is definitely not the last time we'll see these moves mentioned in any of these runs. Anyways, moving on to the run, I complete the sweep of the Team Rocket members in Silph and get everything leveled up a bit. Ice Wraith is level 44, and Frostlass, Bubbles, and Snowball are all level 35. And it's time to try Silph Rival. Rival sends out Pidgeot and I send out Ice Wraith and get the first turn poison, which feels so good. Pidgeot hits with a sand attack, but with poison going and the fact it can't really do anything to us, I'm not too worried right now. Wrap finally connects, and just before it goes down to poison, I switch in Frostlass, expecting Alakazam or Gyarados next. Unfortunately, Pidgeot lands a sand attack on Frostlass just before going down, meaning we're at a slight disadvantage. We miss the first Confuse Ray, Gyarados hits with a Dragon Rage, but we thankfully hit the next Confuse Ray. Gyarados hits itself twice in a row, and Nightshade leaves just a little sliver. Gyarados hits another Dragon Rage, taking Frostlass down to 1 HP, and our next Nightshade misses no. But it goes for Leer, okay, and our next Nightshade hits. Growlithe is out next, and it's just a matter of out-damaging it, which we easily do with Bubbles. Alakazam comes out, which is another scary member of his team. It takes Bubbles down after Bubbles takes out about half of its health. Ice Wraith is probably our best bet since Frostlass is at such low health, so I send it out and go for Glare. Alakazam uses Recover, oh shoot, I forgot it had that move, but Glare hits thankfully so we can outspeed now and maybe stall it out with Wrap. I start spamming A, and Ice Wraith hits most of the wraps, with Alakazam being fully paralyzed on one of the misses. Rival uses a potion which heals a little bit, but then Ice Wraith misses a wrap, and Alakazam uses Recover, which I was afraid of, and we have to spam A again. Unfortunately, Ice Wraith runs out of wraps because Alakazam is so special heavy, and we have to swap out in the Snowball. Maybe it can take us home? 2 Thunderbolts takes out Alakazam, and we're through the scary part of the team. Rival sends out Venusaur, and Snowball gets a Gen 1 in 256 chance miss, because of course it does. Venusaur then hits back with Poison Powder before Snowball does about a third to Venusaur. Venusaur hits back with Vine Whip, and Thunderbolt takes it down to about a third. Then Venusaur hits with Leech Seed, and I swear Rival is using my tactics against me. Venusaur hangs on with a sliver, and Snowball gets ticked with both poison damage and Leech Seed, taking it to 24 HP. And then Venusaur lands a Razor Leaf, taking out Snowball. All of that could have been avoided had there not been a Gen 1 miss, but Venusaur is on a fraction of health, so I send out Ice Wraith and is able to knock it out with... Never mind, Frostlass with your 1 HP, can you do it? Yes, we beat Silph Rival. That was way too close. And Venusaur was supposed to be the easy matchup. We might be in for a struggle later on. But you know what won't be a struggle? Liking and subscribing, no. Giovanni number 2. He sends out Nidorino and I go for the Snowball sweep. Thunderbolt crits and does not near as much as I was hoping for, but Nidorino hits back with Fury Attack and we take it out next turn. Next up is Kangaskhan, which is an easy 3-hit. Rhyhorn is a surprising 2-hit, honestly thought I'd Oko it, and Nidoqueen is an easy 3-hit. I can honestly say that was a nice, refreshing battle, and Silph is done. With that out of the way, I head down to Fuchsia to take care of all that stuff. And after forcefully waking up the Snorlax, Bubble evolves into Blastoise, yay! The Safari Zone goes as expected. As always, I catch an Execute, name it Snowberry. I catch a Tauros that I didn't really care about, name it Rain. I pick up this protein out of habit, so it's useless, so I toss it. I catch another Tauros, because why not, and I name it Rudolph. I get the Gold Teeth and Surf, and to round it all out, I catch a Venomoth and name it Snom. I give the Gold Teeth back to the Warden, and he of course gives us Strength, and I teach it to Ice Wraith, momentarily forgetting about the rule of no TMs other than Gym TMs. And then I save, so there we are. I'm just going to use it for now, but I do find a solution later on that in the future will most definitely come in handy. Anyways, our team is at level 37 and 38. Let's take on Koga. Koga leads off with Coughing and I send out Bubbles. Bubble Beam crits doing pretty significant damage and Coughing Sludge barely does anything. Koga might be an easy fight this time. A couple more turns and Bubbles knocks it out. Muk comes out, and more than anything, I'm worried about Minimize. Luckily, we don't see it, and after a bit of back and forth, Muk goes down. Koga sends out his second Coughing, and I answer by swapping into Snowball to try to close out. Thunderbolt does just under half, but again, Coughing's attacks are barely touching the team. Second Thunderbolt leaves a sliver of health and paralyzes, but Coughing answers with a Smog that ends up poisoning Snowball. Snowball misses the next Thunderbolt thanks to that smoke screen, but manages to take it out the next turn. Last up is Koga's Ace Wheezing, and I'll swap into Frostlass. Frostlass knows Hypnosis and Dream Eater now a busted combo, so you know we're going for it. First Hypnosis misses, but second one hits. Weezing sleeps soundly through a couple of Dream Eaters, and Frostlass gets the win on Koga, earning us the Soul Badge. With the Soul Badge, we get our first usable badge boost in Speed. You might be saying, wait, what about the Boulder Badge and Thunder Badge? Well, remember those boost attack and defense respectively, and since every move is Ice type, a special move, nothing in this game is calculated with attack and defense, except for Pokemon hitting itself in confusion. So this is the first badge we actually get something useful for, and we also get the TM for Toxic, which I am going to use in a very toxic way. And you'll see that in action soon enough. But for now, let's take on Sabrina. I'm choosing not to fight any of the trainers in her gym because they all have really high special, and some of them even resist Ice-type moves, being Slowbro, so it wouldn't be fun at all. Let's just get Sabrina over with. She sends out Kadabra and I send out Ice Wraith. Ice Wraith outspeeds the Kadabra and hits the Glare, paralyzing the Kadabra. And now we wrap to win. After spamming A for a bit, Kadabra goes down and Sabrina sends out my arch nemesis, Mr. Mime. I attempt to get a poison off with Poison Sting, and after a few turns and Mr. Mime doing some damage with its slaps, we finally get the poison. We of course spam Wrap because that's my best strat here, and just before we get the knockout, Sabrina saves Mr. Mime with a Hyper Potion. Well, back to spamming A. And I cheat a bit and use Strength, please don't tell anybody. Sabrina then sends out Venomoth and I swap into Bubbles. Venomoth hits with a Poison Powder, which isn't great, but at least it wasn't Stun Spore. With the poison ticking Bubbles' health down and Sabrina using another Hyper Potion, the fight ended up being a little closer than it needed to be. But Bubbles finally knocks out the Venomoth. All that's left is Alakazam. And I'll swap back into Ice Wraith and attempt to poison it. Alakazam spams Reflect and Recover for 5 turns, allowing multiple attempts at poison. But Ice Wraith just can't get it, and Alakazam knocks it out with 2 crit Psybeams. Frostlass might be my only option here because of Alakazam's super high special. I go for a Confuse Ray, but Alakazam moves first and hits another critical Psybeam, taking Frostlass down to 33 HP, not great. Alakazam is confused now, so maybe we'll get lucky with that? We do, and it hits itself next turn, and we hit Hypnosis, which I was worried about. So Alakazam is now asleep, and we're clear to start taking away its health. Nightshade does some good damage to it, but doesn't quite get the knockout. Sabrina of course uses a Hyper Potion just in time for me to use Dream Eater and do about a 5th. But somehow Alakazam stays asleep for 3 more turns, allowing Frostlass to knock it out and get us the win over Sabrina. We earned the Marsh Badge from her, and of course the TM for Psywave, but even though it's a direct damage move and isn't influenced by type matchups, it's trash and we're not using it. I go get Lapras out of the PC to get us down to Cinnabar, and while I'm at it, I teach Toxic to Ice Wraith over Poison Sting. This will be a more consistent way of poisoning, and Toxic is quite a bit more powerful than standard poison. Regular poison takes away 1/8 of the afflicted Pokemon's health each turn. Toxic, on the other hand, starts out by taking away 1/16 of the afflicted Pokemon's health on the first turn, but every turn after that, when the Pokemon is hurt by Toxic's poison, that amount is increased by 1/16. Ice Wraith's Rat Poison combo used to be pretty good, but now it's going to be unstoppable. Heading through the burned mansion in Cinnabar, Snowball levels up to level 39 and gets the opportunity to learn Defense Curl. So we overwrite Minimize because it kind of feels like cheating anyways, and Snowball learns Defense Curl, a badge boosting move that we may or may not use because it mainly boosts defense, which is pointless, but oh well, we have it now. Almost all the way through Burn Mansion, Frostlass levels up to level 40 and evolves into Gengar. Through the Burn Mansion, it's time to fight Blaine. He sends out Growlithe and I send out Snowball. Growlithe starts off with Agility, Snowball misses a Sing, and then the next turn Blaine tries to use a Super Potion, as he does. Sing hits this time and I start using Defense Curl to get Snowball's speed up. Even after a few Defense Curls, we're still not faster than the Growlithe, which I mean isn't really that surprising. I go for a Thunderbolt the turn Growlithe wakes up, doing some pretty good damage. It goes for Takedown next turn, not doing much, and Thunderbolt takes it down to a sliver of health. After a little Ember, I go for Metronome just to conserve power points on Thunderbolt, and we get Thresh. Oh boy. It knocks out the Growlithe, no surprise there, and Blaine sends out Ponyta. Ponyta misses a Fire Spin, and Snowball is still thrashing. Blaine then uses a Super Potion, because of course he does, and Snowball is still thrashing. Ponyta crits a Stomp, doing pretty good damage to Snowball, who finally finishes up thrashing, so I swap into Bubbles. Ponyta crits with Stomp again, but does pitiful damage, but Bubbles' Bubble Beam doesn't do near as much as I was expecting either. Ponyta uses a Tail Whip, doing nothing but raising Bubble's speed, and a Bubble Beam finishes it off. Rapidash is out next, and it goes for Growl? Oh, okay. Bubble Beam isn't doing very much to it either, but Rapidash chooses to simply not play the game, so after a few rounds, Bubbles knocks it out. Blaine's only got Arcanine left, and it looks to be a 5-hit. It uses Takedown, not doing a whole lot to Bubbles. Bubbles uses Bubble Beam, and Arcanine uses Fire Blast that gets a burn off on Bubbles. We don't have to worry about the attack drop, but that damage over time hurts. Bubble Beam gets it down to just under half, and Blaine uses a Super Potion. Of course he does. This goes on for a bit until I swap into Ice Wraith to maybe put an end to it. Ice Wraith takes some significant damage on swap in, but gets a Toxic off just before Fire Blast takes it out. Just a matter of time for Arcanine now. I send Frostlass out, and Nightshade takes Arcanine down pretty low. Takedown does a bit, but Arcanine also takes recoil damage, meaning we're easily able to take it down the next turn. That was a bit more than it needed to be, but hey, at least we beat Blaine. And with that, we get the Volcano Badge, allowing us to badge boost our special stat, and we get the TM for Fire Blast, which I immediately teach to Snowball. Moving on from Blaine, it's time to finish out the gym run and face Giovanni. But before I do, I fixed Ice Wraith. That's right, I used the move deleter that's in Fuchsia City, and okay, no, not really. I used a program called PK Hex, shout out to PK Hex, and deleted Strength and relearned Bite because I want to keep this run within my own personal rule set of no TMs or HMs except for Gym TMs. So it's a little late, but I fixed it, and I know how to fix it if it ever happens in the future runs now too, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, let's fight Giovanni number 3, shall we? He sends out Rhyhorn and I send out Snowball, which easily one-shots Rhyhorn with Fire Blast. Dugtrio is out next and outspeeds with Slash, doing about a third. Thunderbolt just barely doesn't one-hit, and Giovanni capitalizes on it by using a Guard Spec. So Dugtrio goes down next round. Nidoqueen is a 2-hit with a Lucky Crit and Poison Sting thrown in there. Nidoking outspeeds and uses Thrash, taking Snowball under half, but Fire Blast takes it down to about a quarter. Slash takes Snowball down to 24 HP, and the next Thunderbolt knocks it out. Giovanni's Ace Rhydon is out next, and Snowball misses Fire Blast. But Rhydon goes for Horn Drill, which can't even hit us. Snowball's next Fire Blast takes Rhydon down really low and burns, and Giovanni must really like Guard Spec because he uses another one here, allowing an easy victory for Snowball next turn, winning us the Earth Badge. The gyms are now complete, but I really don't think I'm at a good level right now, so I take everyone and go train up a few levels before Rival. And while we're fighting some Birdkeeper, Snowball levels up to level 48 and finally learns its last move, Light Screen, and I get rid of Defense Curl for it. I need all the offensive power points I can get, and Sing, even though it's highly inaccurate, is pretty useful. Defense Curl only raises speed and special by 12.5%, whereas Light Screen will double Snowball's special stat anytime it's hit by a special move. Since every move is an Ice-type move, that means everything Snowball is hit with doubles its special. It can overflow and drop down by mod 1024, which is the remainder of the current special stat divided by 1024, which could be a problem in longer battles, but I should be able to swap out to reset stats if I ever need to. Anyways, after learning Light Screen, Snowball can finally evolve, and we have the final member of our team all set, Snowball the Clefable. And with everything at level 43 besides Snowball, which is at level 48, let's fight Viridian Rival. He sends out Pidgeot and I send out Ice Wraith. I immediately use Toxic, which hits, and Pidgeot uses Agility, which is fine for us. Wingating does nothing to Ice Wraith, and we go into Wrap. Pidgeot breaks out at one point, uses Agility, but it can't do anything else, and it goes down. We do the same thing to Rhyhorn, Gyarados, and here you can really see the power of Toxic shining through, Growlithe, and attempt to do the same thing with Alakazam after it outspeeds and uses a pointless recover. It uses Psychic next turn and takes Ice Wraith down to a third HP before we go into Wrap. Since Alakazam outspeeds, we can't trap it indefinitely, but we can do some damage to it. It breaks free and recovers the damage we've done so far, but Toxic is building up and doing more and more damage, but Alakazam hits with a Psybeam, taking Ice Wraith down. I send out Frostlass for Nightshade damage after Alakazam uses a recover. Toxic and Nightshade does major damage, almost taking down Alakazam, which counters with Reflect, going down to poison damage. Venusaur is out next, and I go for Confuse Ray, and it goes for Poison Powder, which obviously didn't affect Gengar. Anyways, I go for Hypnosis next turn that misses, and Venusaur hits itself. Hypnosis hits the next turn, but Venusaur immediately wakes up. I don't notice, and of course Dream Eater doesn't do anything. And Venusaur hits with Razor Leaf, doing quite a bit of damage. I decide not to try Hypnosis again and just go with Nightshade, and Venusaur hits back with Razor Leaf, taking Frostlass pretty low. Nightshade takes Venusaur down to about a third, and it thankfully uses Growth, stalling out a turn, and this last Nightshade leaves 1 HP on Venusaur that goes for Razor Leaf, but misses, and Nightshade knocks it out next turn. That fight wasn't bad at all except for Venusaur, which is crazy because it's supposed to be weak to everything, but oh well, maybe we'll get luckier with the champion battle. But before we get to that, we made it through Victory Road. Bubbles is at level 45, Ice Wraith and Frostlass are both at level 46, and Snowball is at level 48, and it's time to take on the Elite Four. Lorelei is up first and she sends out Dugong. I answer with Ice Wraith and maybe we can just Toxic Wrap everything? Dugong's Stab Aura Beam does pretty good damage, but we outspeed and get into the Wrap loop. Lorelei tries to save Dugong with a Hyper Potion, but it's not enough and Dugong goes down. We do the same thing with Cloyster and you can see just how little Wrap is doing. It looks like the HP bar isn't even moving. Toxic is the real damager here. Cloyster goes down easily and now it's Slowbro, which has the same fate. Can we sweep Lorelei with the cheese? Jinx is faster than Ice Wraith and goes for Double Slat, which remember is stab and special now. Ice Wraith gets the Toxic off, but Jinx knocks it out with a crit stab body slam. That's not good. I send out Frostlass against Jinx and confuse it to stall it out a bit. It hits through confusion and uses Thrash, which does really big damage. Nightshade does about a third to it. It hits a self-confusion and takes toxic damage, and then Nightshade almost takes it out, leaving just a sliver. Jinx uses Thrash through the confusion, but it's not enough, and Poison takes it out. Lorelei only has Lapras left, but it's her scariest Pokemon. Hypnosis hits first turn, but Lapras wakes up immediately, and luckily, Hypnosis hits again, and Lapras stays asleep this time. I waste a turn and misclip with another Hypnosis, Lapras stays asleep, and I use Dream Eater next turn, doing pitiful damage. I confuse it while it's asleep and just have to hope Nightshade can take it out before it wakes up, but of course it wakes up this turn. I try for Hypnosis again but miss, and Lapras hits through confusion with Hydro Pump, knocking out Frostlass. I send out Snowball, and without much else going for me, I go for Sing and actually get the hit, but it immediately wakes up again on the first turn. I go for Sing and miss, and it hits itself in confusion. This fight is awful. I set up a light screen to get a special boost and it hits itself again. Fire Blast does almost nothing and Blizzard hits, doing 40 HP to Snowball. After a painfully slow battle back and forth, Lapras knocks Snowball out with a Body Slam. Bubbles is up! Bubble Beam is doing just about nothing to Lapras that hits with a Hydro Pump, which Bubbles resists, doing a third. Lapras then hits with Blizzard and gets a freeze, ensuring our loss. But we were so close, I'm resetting and we're just gonna try right again. Dugong and Cloyster both go down the same way, Cloyster hitting Ice Wraith this time with Aurora Beam, and Ice Wraith being so weak goes down to Slowbro. I learned from last time that I'm saving Frostlass since Toxic is already in effect, and switch into Bubbles and start setting up Withdraw. Slowbro goes down and up next is Jinx. Bubbles unfortunately can't do near enough damage to it and goes down in a few hits. I send out Snowball and get off a Sing and set up Light Screen. Jinx stays asleep and Snowball hits 2 Fire Blasts that do okay damage before Jinx gets off a massive Ice Punch. Luckily we have Light Screen set up so our special is now doubled. Thunderbolt does chip damage and Ice Punch does very little now. This is anyone's fight. Thunderbolt does a little more, I'm wanting the paralysis, but Lorelei heals with Super Potion. Both Pokemon get down to low health, but Jinx is the faster one here and Body Slam Snowball, knocking it out. It's all up to Frostlass. Nightshade easily finishes off Jinx, and now we're back to Lapras. I use Confuse Ray and then Hypnosis just to buy some time. Luckily for us, Lapras stays asleep for 6 turns, allowing us to knock it out and beat arguably the hardest trainer of the run so far, Lorelei. Alright, that's done. Let's take a breather real quick. Bruno sends out Onix and I send out Bubbles, going for pure offense against Bruno, not even doing anything strategic. Onix goes down in 2, Hitmonchan goes down in 3, Hitmonlee goes down in 2 crits, Onix number 2 goes down in 2, and Machamp is a little bulkier than the rest of his team, something I wasn't really expecting, but Bubbles gets the knockout without taking too much damage, and we're through Bruno. Agatha is next. I'm relying on Snowball to get a lucky burn on her team for some chip damage. Gengar goes for Confuse Ray right off the bat and Snowball hits itself. Gengar then goes for an ineffective Dream Eater and Snowball hits with a Fire Blast, getting the burn. Gengar hits back with Nightshade that takes Snowball down to just above half, and I set up a light screen. It goes for another Nightshade, and Thunderbolt just isn't doing enough, so I swap into Frostlass. And remember, I can't Hypnosis the burn Gengar, but after a couple of turns, get the knockout. Okay, that's one of her Pokemon down. She sends out Golbat, so I use this opportunity to put it to sleep and heal with Dream Eater, OHKOing it with a super effective crit. Haunter comes out and we Hypnosis dance back and forth until it finally puts me to sleep. I immediately wake up and it does some damage with Nightshade. Frostlass misses another Hypnosis, but Agatha plays nice with us and swaps into Arbok, who Frostlass hits with Hypnosis. But then Agatha stops playing nice and swaps Haunter back in. But after 2 turns, we finally get the Hypnosis off, and Gen 1 miss a Dream Eater, come on! But Haunter stays asleep, and Frostlass is able to take it out with a couple of Dream Eaters and a Nightshade. Arbok stays asleep for a while as Frostlass takes her time taking it out, and last out is Agatha's Gengar. It goes for Nightshade, taking Frostlass under half, but Hypnosis hits turn 1, yes! Dream Eater crits healing back quite a bit, and then I decide to Confuse Ray as a just in case. But it ends up not even mattering as Agatha's Gengar decides to stay asleep, letting Frostlass take the victory. Agatha is down. Just 2 more battles to go. Lance is up next, and the only real threat on his team is Gyarados. I know, big surprise there. So as long as I can get past it, we should be on our way to the champion. Lance, of course, starts out with Gyarados, and I send out Ice Wraith. I doubt we'll outspeed, let's just go for Toxic, but Ice Wraith does outspeed, and misses. And Gyarados uses Hyper Beam, but Ice Wraith survives on 31 HP, which means we get 2 turns to try Toxic again, but we don't need that second turn because Toxic hits. Okay, now it's just a matter of hanging on for the ride. Ice Wraith gets the wrap off, let's see how many turns we can go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gyarados is hanging on with just a sliver. Why did I go for wrap? It doesn't matter. We get the hit and Gyarados goes down. I think we've won the fight. Not too concerned about Dragonair, so I just let it take out Ice Wraith, a valiant sacrifice. 07 for Ice Wraith, and I'll swap into Bubbles. Bite takes Dragonair down to a quarter, Dragonair counters with Dragon Rage, and another Bite takes it down. Dragonair number 2 comes out, Bubble uses Bite, taking it down to just over half, and it uses Agility, so now it should outspeed, and it does, and uses another Agility. Bite takes it down to around a quarter, and it hits with Dragon Rage, and Bite takes it out. That crit would have been nice on any other turn, but oh well. Aerodactyl is up and it crits with a Hyper Beam that takes Bubble down to just a sliver, and Bubbles bites back, doing just over a quarter. Aerodactyl is recharging and a second bite takes it down to about a third. But then Aerodactyl bites back, Bubbles out, but Bubbles put in the work on this fight, we'll take it. I send Frostlass out to clean up using Nightshade, but I'm not paying attention to the level disparity, and Aerodactyl hangs on with just a fraction of health. But it knocks itself out with a second takedown, awesome. Alright, down to Dragonite. Hypnosis misses, it uses a pointless barrier, but Hypnosis hits the second round. Dragonite stays asleep, and Dream Eater does huge damage. Almost knocking it out, come on. Dragonite wakes up and I try for Swag Confuse Ray, but Lance uses a Hyper Potion. Let's just start over. Hypnosis hits first try this time. Dragonite stays asleep and hangs on with like 4 HP, but stays asleep and Frostlass knocks it out with Nightshade. Lance is down. A little more exciting than I was anticipating, but we got the win. All that's left now is champion. I honestly didn't expect to get past Agatha and Lance on the first try, but here we are. Now before I face champion, I go ahead and use all the rare candies in my bag, leveling everything up to level 50, Ice Wraith up to level 51 just for a bit more speed, and put Bubbles out in front for pure offense against Pidgeot. Alright, here we go. The final battle. He sends out his level 61 Pidgeot and I send out my level 50 Bubbles. He goes for Mirror Move first turn, classic blunder, and Bubbles hits back with Bubble Beam that takes it down by a third. Pidgeot then starts setting up Sky Attack, another Bubble Beam takes it down to a third and lowers Pidgeot's speed, meaning we might outspeed? Yes, we do, and we knock the Pidgeot out, taking no damage. But that was just the easy part. Next up is Alakazam. It goes for a pointless Reflect and Bubbles' Bite is doing next to nothing against it. Alakazam uses Recover and Bite again does next to nothing. This goes on for a couple more turns. Okay, we gotta do something different. I swap into Frostlass. Direct damage is probably the best play here. It uses another Reflect on swap in, nice, and then goes for Psybeam, critting and taking Frostlass down to just under half health. Confuse Ray hits, not sure it was the right play, but we'll see. It does hit itself next turn and Hypnosis hits, nice. but it wakes up the very next turn and Dream Eater fails. It goes for Reflect again and Hypnosis misses, come on. And then Alakazam hits with Psychic, but Frostlass hangs on just to miss another Hypnosis. This doesn't look good, and Alakazam recovers, resetting all that damage. Hypnosis finally hits, Alakazam stays asleep, and Dream Eater does about a quarter, but then Alakazam wakes up the very next turn. It recovers again, I go for Confuse Ray, but before Frostlass can try yet another Hypnosis, Alakazam knocks Frostlass out with Psybeam. That hurts not having Frostlass for the rest of the battle, but we're still in it, let's keep going. I send out Snowball and set up a light screen after Alakazam hits itself in confusion. Thank you, Frostlass07 in the chat. Alakazam hits a Psychic that does very little, and Snowball crits with the Fire Blast, taking Alakazam under half, and we got the burn. Alakazam recovers next turn, and Fire Blast misses. Okay, maybe I jinxed myself. Then Psychic crits, taking Snowball all the way down to 24 HP. Fire Blast hits, not doing near as much as I want, and Alakazam uses Reflect. Nice, we like that. Another Fire Blast takes Alakazam to a quarter, and it goes for Psybeam, and Snowball hangs on with 2 HP, and knocks out Alakazam with its Thunderbolt. Let's go! Snowball's goated! Okay. Rhydon's out next, and almost goes down in one hit, but we get the burn. Rhydon goes for Horn Drill, obviously doesn't do anything, and goes down to burn. Nice, we love to see it. Next out is level 61 Gyarados, the true test. It goes for an inconsequential Leer, and Sing actually hits. Let's go. Snowball gets 3 Thunderbolts off before Gyarados counters with a Hyper Beam, taking it out. Down to Ice Wraith and Bubbles. Let's see if Ice Wraith can outspeed the Gyarados with Toxic. Yes! Gyarados uses Leer again, and Wrap hits. And Gyarados goes down. I think we got the win, but let's just stay focused. Let's stay focused. Champion sends out Arcanine. Ice Wraith outspeed and Toxic hits, and Arcanine wastes its turn using Roar, and Ice Wraith won't give it another chance. Wrap plus Toxic comboing until Arcanine goes down. 1 Pokemon left. Champion sends out Venusaur, and I go for Toxic. Think that I miss. It hits with Razor Leaf, doing massive damage, and I use Toxic again before I realize Venusaur is for real poison type this video. It isn't part of another challenge. Venusaur starts taking in Sunlight, and for a last-ditch effort, I go for Glare, paralyzing it. But Solar Beam hits anyways, taking Ice Wraith down. This is it. It's almost poetic. Down to starter against starter. I send out Bubbles. Bubble Beam does a quarter to Venusaur as it takes in Sunlight. Bubble Beam takes it down to about half, and Venusaur hits with Solar Beam, doing only about 40 HP. A third Bubble Beam takes it down to just over a quarter health, and Venusaur is fully paralyzed. Just a couple more turns. Bubble Beam leaves a sliver, and Venusaur starts setting up Solar Beam again, but it's too little, too late, and Bubbles knocks it out, getting the win against the champion. Let's go. Pokemon Red, but every move is Ice type, is done. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around through this video. This was such a fun run to do, and I'll be doing more of these as part of a series, so if you're not already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the next uploads. I don't have any thoughts or considerations for what the next video in the series will be. Tell you what, put your favorite type down in the comments and maybe a reason why it would be an interesting run, whether in this series or my Pokemon are all the same type series, and I'll go through them and figure out which one I want to do next. Again, thank you so much for watching. I can't say that enough. I really appreciate the support from everyone. Thank you so much. And for sticking around to the end, let's get a little bonus video in, shall we? So as some of you know, electric type moves in Gen 1 have a chance to paralyze non-electric type Pokemon. I kind of went over that in my Every Pokemon is an Electric type video, but there's one move that doesn't follow that pattern: Body Slam. Body Slam can paralyze, but electric types aren't immune to its paralyzing effects. Instead, it's normal types that are immune. Coincidentally, or maybe not, Body Slam is a normal type move. So if electric types are immune to electric moves paralysis, and normal types are immune to normal moves paralysis, what happens if you change those moves types like what I did in this run? Well, I mean, I could look in the code and figure out from there, but testing it's a lot more fun, so I went and caught a Snorlax, got to level 35 to where it knows Body Slam, and went to Seafoam to find a Dugong. And here, I used a save state so I could continuously battle it. And after using Body Slam 43 times, I think it's safe to say Body Slam cannot paralyze Ice-type Pokemon. But to confirm this, let's head up to the entrance of Victory Road and see if we can paralyze the Sphero. And after just 6 Body Slams, we get confirmation. Body Slam will not paralyze Pokemon that share its type, no matter what type it is. But then I got curious. What about electric types? So I took Snowball and we went over to the power plant, and just after 4 tries, Magneton gets paralyzed by Thunderbolt. So the same thing applies to previous electric type moves too. Now I know this interaction doesn't work with poison types and moves like Poison Sting because I tried that while playing with Ice Wraith. This is all very interesting and adds another level of complexity to the equation. Anyways, thank you for sticking around so long. This video is getting to be a bit too lengthy, so I'm going to cut it here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.